the Cagey has a unique configuration, therefore gives off some unique cues. A few of those are, first of all, the cunning hunter eyes. As a Cagey, Cagey are lead perceivers, and the lead perception is a directive one. So there's always a looking at the environment for what it has to offer you, specifically related to an agenda, such as like a hunter who's out in a trail, a wolf or something, and you're very alert, but it's really alert to, example, a scent in the air that's tracking, which is, I want my meal. So it's moving through the landscape, and this is where the V comes in later on, but for the Cagey, the Nye is first. It's moving through landscape, but there's something particular that's on its mind's eye, and that is what it's paying attention to. It's always looking at you. In this case, it's looking with cunning hunter eyes. So it has a dreaminess, so the sort of hunter stare, it's looking at you, but it's looking at you with, like, what is the big picture? What's the big picture going on? In particular, what's the big picture of you? And this actually separates the cunning hunter eyes of the Cagey even from the Nye-Z. So the Cagey and the Cagey and the Nye-Z will both have that cunning hunter look that just pops out. Same way that the Nye dancing eyes pop out of a Nye Alpha. For the Nye Alpha, it'll be boom, just piercing, like, what is the all of this that others don't see? But being Cagey, they'll be focused often on people, so they have a look to them. Everyone has a certain look they give when they're reading Mojo. You may have noticed this, that if you start reading Mojo, that people notice that you're staring at them kind of oddly. Cagey just sort of look this way all the time, because that is what they're hunting. They're actually hunting psychologies. They're hunting storylines. So when they're looking at a person, there's always the running of the simulator of what is this creature in my simulator. Okay. Nye Alpha, constant signal of dissatisfaction. That is because Nye is always looking to figure out what is the unknown and make it known. This is a never-ending task. This is a titanic task that can never actually be accomplished, but there is joy in making good headway. Mm-hmm. But there's never satisfaction. There can be reward. There can be like, yay, I got a good chunk of it, but you never get it. And so no matter what, the Cagey will always have a look of searching for something. The searching will be different than, say, other types of lead perceivers, in that it's searching inwardly often, and it's searching for something that's hard to define, and thus when Cagey, and this gets into the articulation, they begin to speak, oftentimes where they're getting their ideas from, the angles they're moving at, are hard to predict. Often they're considered rather attractive, even hypnotic, because they relate to the subject at hand, but they come from some sort of original source, and that's the Nye simulator feeding information. What else? Nye Alpha, independence of mind. As a Nye Alpha, there will be a pull away, and this is seen in the Cagey face in that their emotive expression does not go above the brim line. So the Jez connections, the Jez signals, the values-based interaction, psychological interaction, it has a huge impact on the Cagey, and you'll see this move readily and high up into the face, but not into the eyes. Always there is a part held away from everything, even from those that are connected to and the Cagey may feel very warmly to. That's just part of their existence, is that sort of held apart quality. It's integral to their being. What else? Nye Alpha, directive boundary setting. Often this is going to be nonverbal, because Nye Alpha, Cagey being subjective, can't spend a lot of energy showing where the boundaries are. So they often do it by staring at other people and let other people know that they have the gaze of a predator, the gaze of a hunter, or the gaze of a person who is vigilant. So the vigilant gaze is often how subjective directives actually let people know that they have boundaries. Cagey, because of the sort of dreamy, speculative hunting style and hunting of psychology, there will be a staring at people to let them know, I see you, and I like you or I don't like you. And this can all be done very subtly by slight tensions of the body. The body relaxes or releases tension based on if the person is moving in a way you like. And this is often done far before an individual or environmental circumstance gets near the Cagey, and it's vigilant about how anything's moving near it, even when it's not really getting very close. That signals other people consciously and unconsciously that they're dealing with a hunter. Right. Because that's what hunters do. They're always watching what's going on in the environment and what's moving towards me. And kind of like, tigers, they're out in the field, or wolves. They're always looking at how far away they are from another wolf pack, how far away they are from the prey, how far they're away from these weird humans that seem to be stalking them in their Jeep and taking pictures of me. You know what I mean? All those kinds of things. So that vigilance actually makes people wary, almost like going into like a security system. They can almost feel like security cameras are watching them. So nothing's actually happened yet, but normal things don't move like that. The only thing that moves like that in the corner of like a hospital is a security camera. And so the Cagey give a extremely alert to the psychological movements in the environment. For example, conversation. A good way that Cagey will give themselves away, even if they may be acting like they're adaptive or even thinking they're adaptive, is how vigilant they follow conversation. When conversation turns, it gets more seductive, gets more argumentative, gets more happy. They'll be tracking it. Always tracking. And that constant tracking gives them away as a hunter. And sets boundaries, because all animals, not just humans, pretty much all the mammals, are wired to actually note the mannerisms of a running prey, as well as the mannerisms of something that's sizing you up. The way hunters size something up. Mm-hmm. So when another hunter sees another hunter, even if you don't think like I may or may not eat that creature, you're first thinking, will it eat me?
Yeah.
When you realize that like it's looking at me the same way I'm looking at it. So even hunters recognize a fellow hunter in the room and recognize its zone. Even if they go through that zone, it's done in a knowing way. They know they are breaking through someone's zone, and they definitely know when someone intrudes on theirs, which tends to be rather far out. Mm-hmm. Cagey in general tend to have a rather zone of not liking to be touched, although they can actually be very intimate because there are G-mojos when it comes up. But in general, there's a zone of no touchy-touchy.
And they also wear sunglasses, right?
That's also
because of HSP and the fact that they don't want people to see that they're hunting, and they don't want to be read. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. When caginess. All the Nez Alpha share a cagey quality because they actually have an interpretive power which sort of shifts and dances around patterns as their lead signal. So their eyes always have this sort of liquidy, it goes where it goes kind of quality, and that can be kind of like unnerving to some people and also make them feel that it's difficult to hold on to. So the caginess is a little unnerving, and as far as what it might do, and also unsettling in that like I don't know how to hold on to that. With an Cagey, it's going to actually have a unique quality in that it's directive. So the caginess will be, and this is why sometimes Cagey can be difficult to know that they're directive if they're playing certain games, is a willful holding in of information and connectivity. And so they're deciding how connective they are or are not going to be. The Cagey also shares that same kind of interpretive power over values, but it's less thought out, to where it's part of the hunting package, where part of the hunting vigilance is actually deciding exactly how I'm going to play the emotions. So Cagey are values-based, but they do actually have an interpretive power over that, which is how am I going to play this emotion psychology game. Mm-hmm. What else? We are G-mojo, so there's warm articulation. So when they do speak, their voice will warm up with either seduction, intimidation, exuberance, all of the above. And when this happens, it will go above the midline of their voice and of their face, but not into their brim line, not above the eyes. It will not take over the face, it will not take over the voice, which is another thing that contributes to the caginess. Let's see. Aware mouth. The G expressions, or the motor expressions of the Cagey, are designed to actually move the environment. Even Cagey, who may do a lot of zaiing up and stone facing, so you don't see them using their G maybe as much as you would expect for a G-mojo. When they use it, it's used for impact. It's used specifically to make a psychological connection to the audience, which is how Cagey actually teach. So there's a lot of teaching quality to the emotive expression of the Cagey. That's their unique flavor. What else? There's the under signal of caring. Cagey do care a great deal. One thing that is interesting is Cagey have sort of a dichotomy of being very removed from people, but then deeply connected, but never being able to stay in one position indefinitely, having to switch in and out. What else? Voyeuristic. Cagey have a sort of voyeuristic air to them a lot of times, and that's sort of like their ghost mode, but then when they switch into like a visceral mode, it tends to be hyper-visceral, more kinetic than V-Mojos would be. Similar to Thozen, when Cagey use their Zai, for example, to do stone face, to remove the emotive expression from their face, it looks like they are holding still, like a hunter or a sniper holding still, not at peace, not at equilibrium, still, held still in particular. What else? Hooded eyes, to distinguish Cagey, for example, the Jinai, is there's the hooded eyes. They always look like they're talking to you from an inner place within, even when they're actually out. If they do come out to where they have sort of like a full frontal, this will look a bit out of character. When they do the perk up and their eyes go wide, it will look very, very intense, like a hunter who's been stalking its prey via tracks or scent, and then visually sees the prey within sprinting distance. Huge widening of the eyes and a burst of activity, but not a relaxed eyes open of a knee alpha or a V alpha where they're just enjoying the drinking in. It's more like same way sharks' eyes roll back before they make their strike. This is the opposite. Our eyes actually widen or lock on laser style onto whatever prey we were chasing once that kinetic moment happens. But it will look hyper kinetic, so that it's very impressive, but it cannot be held long. It's not a state that is designed to be held for extended periods of time. Or if it is, Cagey can do phenomenal feats that way, but it'll have to be paid back. So there is an overall energy awareness of the Cagey of how much they're spending, and you'll note that being a Nai Alpha. What else? Last thing is probably the V polar sensitivity. It's HSP. When you see Cagey, they pretty much always have to do something with their nervous energy. It'll either be just openly twitching, but it can be very stylized movements of the hands, ways of doing the cadence of the speech, and also humor. Humor is a great way to hide that. But you will, once you know what to look for, you'll see it in the hands, the way they hold them. Even if they don't move them, they have to hold them still. There's like an amped energy that comes into a Cagey the more the environment is aware of them. So anything like in a group setting, out in a very public or loud place, on camera, anything that makes it more like eyes on you, nervous energy will just kind of flood the body, and they'll have to do something with it.